So, after months of swirling rumours, teasing headlines and endless speculation about a possible Mercedes switch, Max Verstappen has finally put the rumours to rest. For now, the Formula One driver market saga that saw Toto Wolff circling, George Russell's seat in question, and Red Bull in a state of tension seems to have hit pause. Verstappen is staying put at Red Bull for 2026. But while this decision ends one chapter, it may just be the calm before the next storm, because 2027, that's still wide open. The dust is finally settling on one of F1's most closely watched storylines this season. Max Verstappen has officially committed to Red Bull for the 2026 season. This high-stakes tug-of-war involving Verstappen, Toto Wolff, George Russell, Mercedes and Red Bull has reached its conclusion, at least for this year. Of course, you can bet the speculation will flare up again next season as the 2027 seats come into play. Verstappen's decision was essentially confirmed before the Hungarian Grand Prix, and Helmut Marko reinforced that message after the Belgian Grand Prix. Marko revealed that Verstappen chose not to activate the exit clause in his contract, a clause that would have allowed him to leave if he wasn't among the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship. But since Max remains firmly in the title hunt, the clause remains unused. All in all, this is a win for both Verstappen and Red Bull. In the midst of so much upcoming change, new technical regulations, new power units, and a reshaped leadership team, locking in the best driver on the grid provides Red Bull with some desperately needed continuity. Max is the centerpiece of this team, and his presence alone helps steady the ship as it sails into a very different F1 landscape. This decision also relieves a significant burden from Laurent Mekies's shoulders. As one of Red Bull's new key figures, Mekies's top task was securing Max for the future. Had Verstappen opted to join Mercedes, Red Bull's choices would have been very limited. George Russell could have been a viable candidate, but beyond him, nearly every top-tier driver is already committed elsewhere for 2026. It's only in 2027 that the driver market really opens up again. By that point, while it's unlikely Red Bull will find someone on Verstappen's level, there will at least be a broader field of available drivers, some of whom have race-winning pedigree or even championship potential. And while none may match Max's rare combination of speed and synergy with the team, Red Bull will still need a proven leader to carry them into the post-Verstappen era, whenever that comes. From Max's perspective, the timing just isn't right to make the leap to Mercedes. As things stand, Red Bull, especially with Max behind the wheel, is still outperforming Mercedes. This fact often gets overshadowed by discussions about Red Bull's second seat troubles or speculation about how strong the car truly is without Max. But the reality is, when Verstappen is driving it, that RB car is the second fastest on the grid, and that's not something to casually discard. Another factor working in Max's favour is the patience and persistence of Toto Wolff. Mercedes team boss has made it abundantly clear he wants Max Verstappen above anyone else. Even if Mercedes begins to dominate in 2026, Wolff is willing to wait. If that happens, both current Mercedes drivers would likely want to secure long-term contracts, but Wolff may still leave room for Verstappen to make a move in 2027. In the end, Verstappen enjoys a rare kind of flexibility. He can ride out the changes at Red Bull, give the new Red Bull Ford power unit a fair shot in 2026, and assess how competitive the team remains. If Red Bull delivers, he's already in the best place, but if Mercedes surge ahead or show greater long-term potential, Max still holds the option to jump ship next year. He's playing the long game, and right now he's playing it brilliantly. Another angle that's worth seriously examining is this: how much did Red Bull's decision to part ways with Christian Horner influence Max Verstappen's choice to stay, especially with the announcement coming just a few races later? It's clear that Red Bull is actively trying to bring calm and cohesion back into the team structure. And while I don't think Max had any personal vendetta against Horner, or was campaigning behind the scenes for his dismissal, I also doubt the events are completely unrelated. Let's not forget, last year Max's father, Jos Verstappen, made headlines when he publicly stated that if Horner remained in his role, it could cause the team to implode. Fast forward 12 months, and Horner is out. Coincidence? Maybe. But at the very least, the optics suggests some connection, even if indirect. Max, for his part, has always maintained a respectful stance toward Christian Horner. But that's not the same as loyalty. When Horner was under investigation, Verstappen didn't exactly leap to his defense. He stayed quiet, towed the company line, and avoided getting involved. There wasn't any outspoken backing from Max, nothing that would suggest a ride-or-die allegiance to Horner. Contrast that with how fiercely he responded when Helmut Marko's position at Red Bull was rumoured to be under threat. Max didn't hesitate. He made it crystal clear. If Marko was forced out, he'd walk too. That kind of instant, non-negotiable reaction tells you everything about where his true loyalties lie. Horner, by comparison, never received that kind of protection from Verstappen. And now that Christian is no longer around, I don't think Max is exactly grieving the loss. In fact, I'd argue he's probably a bit more comfortable with the new setup. Laurent Mekias, now stepping into a bigger role, doesn't wield the same level of authority that Horner once did. With Horner gone, the power dynamics inside Red Bull have noticeably shifted. The Verstappen camp, consisting of Max, Jos Verstappen and Helmut Marko, now holds even greater influence over the direction of the team. And maybe that's for the best. Hopefully, this newly found balance in leadership allows Red Bull to finally stabilize internally, because people often overlook just how sharp this racing outfit still is. From flawless strategy calls and lightning-fast pit stops to brilliant car design and elite-level drivers, Red Bull Racing remains one of the most well-oiled machines on the grid. And with fewer internal distractions, they might just return to peak form, unified and focused. It's no secret that Red Bull has suffered a significant brain drain in recent years. Some of Formula One's most talented engineers and technical minds have walked away, and many, like Rob Marshall, have gone on to thrive elsewhere, as we've seen with his work at McLaren. So now the big question is, what happens to Red Bull in this post-Horner era? How will the team evolve without some of the foundational figures who played such a crucial role in building it up from the ground? One individual facing enormous pressure is Pierre Wache, Red Bull's technical director for 2026. Horner was one of Wache's strongest supporters internally, so now with Horner gone, all eyes will be on Pierre. If the 2026 car fails to deliver, whether in terms of aerodynamic performance or power unit development, there's a very real chance he could be out of the job before the end of the season. The stakes for him couldn't be higher. On the other side of this whole narrative sits George Russell at Mercedes, who for now can breathe a little easier. With Max Verstappen confirmed to be staying at Red Bull for at least 2026, Russell is likely to enjoy a bit more stability in the short term. That said, the key word here is short. This entire silly season drama is set to reignite in less than a year, and Mercedes will have to make decisions all over again. Now, if anyone deserves a renewed deal, it's George. He's done everything Mercedes have asked of him. He's kept his head down, pushed hard, and remained loyal through the team's post-2021 struggles, despite not having a championship-caliber car. It's why this whole situation feels so strange. George Russell, a driver of unquestionable quality, finds his future in doubt. Not because of performance, but simply because of the shadow cast by the best driver in the world. That's what makes this whole thing so bizarre. On one hand, if Verstappen is available, any team, including Mercedes, would be crazy not to go after him. But on the other, it feels unjust to George, who's done everything right yet still finds himself vulnerable. What's especially intriguing are Russell's recent comments. He's publicly stated that his views don't fully align with Mercedes and hinted that he felt exposed during the contract negotiations. Those aren't throwaway lines, they signal deeper tension between George and Toto Wolff. The trust that once defined their relationship seems to be eroding, and if that continues, a separation in 2027 isn't out of the question. Thankfully for George, the 2027 market looks far more promising than 2026 ever did. Aston Martin could be a perfect match. Their ambition, branding and culture feel like a natural fit for a driver like Russell. Then there's Red Bull, who may be looking for a Verstappen replacement. Ferrari might be an option too, depending on Lewis Hamilton's third-year clause. Williams could offer a seat beside Alex Albon. And don't count out Audi, who will be eager to attract top talent for their growing F1 project. That's why it actually makes the most sense for both Verstappen and Russell to stay exactly where they are for 2026. It provides each of them with a level of continuity while also keeping the door open for bigger moves a year later. Had George lost his seat in this year's compressed market, where only Red Bull was a realistic landing spot, it would have created an awkward and almost comical scenario. Imagine a team dynamic featuring Helmut Marko, Christian Horner, if he were still there, and George Russell. That would have been an explosive mix of personalities and philosophies. So ultimately, this is a cleaner and more rational outcome for everyone. Red Bull gets another year with Max leading the charge, Mercedes gets one more season to evaluate George's role, and both drivers retain the freedom to explore better opportunities in 2027. That said, the tension between Russell and Wolff might not be going away anytime soon. And if that partnership really is fraying, it'll be one of the biggest stories to watch heading into the next driver market shuffle. If you enjoyed this breakdown, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.